Here, it's the Bodega Boy non-stop Jarett Diaz, and you are listening to the 3 Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion, roll with cold.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Enter Ring, and I am your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. You can call me your Sherpa. You should call me your Sherpa. After all the episodes I've asked you to do it for me. It's about time you do it. But anyway, it's never about me because like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring today. Today, you can find this man out Wrestling Open in Worcester, Massachusetts, because that's, the loves. I got to give the loves. PWK, PAPW, XWA, RPW, Ignite, ACW, ECPW, PPW, WXW. He is the Bodega Boy, the badass from Puerto Rico. Give it up for Jarett Diaz.
Yo, oh my God, I've never heard such a thorough and exciting intro to a podcast. Not just for me, but in general. So I got to say props to you. Hats off. I appreciate it. And I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be talking to you. So let's chat, man. Let's talk. I'm ready.
Dude, so like you have had like an interesting journey, like just like reading over your stuff and checking out all the things that you kind of been associated with. You have like this plethora of like work, and I was looking over it, but I know that our listeners want to know about it. So, dude, first question off the jump is, who is Jarett Diaz?
Oh man, Jarett Diaz is just a kid trying to juggle it all. I think that from a young age, I had a lot of different passions and pursuits. Maybe since I was 8, 9, 10 years old, realized that there isn't just this one solo thing that I wanted to do. And I guess I'm still trying to figure it all out, but I'm very happy and I'm very grateful that I'm able to do a lot of things. I come from humble beginnings, low middle class in the Bronx. Parents wanted better for us, moved us, to Westchester, moved us to Pennsylvania, moved us back to the Bronx. A lot of different upbringing situations, but ultimately just trying to figure it all out like anybody else.
Man, that's life in itself, bro. Like, I know even for me, like I'm an old head, like in the retrospect of like the wrestling scene, because like I started, like I've only been in for like 2 years, but I'm turning 37 this year, man. So like it's crazy.
I wouldn't have said 37 looking at you. I would have said like 20, 29.
Hey. But it's one of those things that like I have a lot of experience, so I can definitely relate to you when you talk about moving different areas and living different lifestyles, right? Because when I was growing up, and this is something I haven't ever shared on the show, so this would be kind of fun for everybody else. I went to 6 different schools in the first 6 years of my life. Like, but that was my dad who was military. So yeah. I knew the moving scene, man. So being the new kid on the block all the time, it was just routine. Like it seemed like every year I was making new friends.
You learn how to make friends, and you learn how to, drop whole towns in a heartbeat. I get it.
Yep. And so I think it's cool though that you're able to like, like you said, your family comes from like a humble beginning, man, or and they keep you grounded. But the cool thing about it too is what you end up learning. And I don't know if a lot of people can relate to what we're going to talk about, but when you move from place to place to place, you keep yourself grounded because you have to introduce yourself to a new crowd every single time. So when you get into something like this, it's relatively easy to just keep it going because you never want to be the big fish in a small pond. You're always like, whatever, I can just jump to another pond and fill my gills up there. Then I'll just jump to another pond and just keep learning and keep growing. So I think it's cool that you've had that kind of experience.
100%. I mean, this is sort of diving into the middle of me wrestling, but I got very comfortable being new, and I got comfortable effectively being uncomfortable and always having to, not just earn my keep, but earn respect and make sure that I walked in without nobody knowing who I was. But at the end of the day, when I leave this place, I want to at least at least somebody's going to come up to me and say, hey, I'm glad I met you today. Or, hey, I'm glad that I got a chance to watch you today. Because if I'm a new person, all I need is one new set of eyes. And everywhere I go, if I keep collecting those sets of eyes and keep drawing that attention slowly but surely, everybody's going to know who I am. And that's ultimately the goal.
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool too, because like as long as one or two people are like paying attention or even say your name, whether they love you or hate you, fun fact, I don't really care either way. Just spread my brand. I really do.
Yeah.
I understand it. I understand. Like, just spread my brand. I don't really care whether you love me or hate me. But at the end of the day, like, I don't want to. Like, I'm not gonna leave. Like, I'm not gonna leave people with a bad impression of me. But like, if I'm playing the heel, like, I want people to like. I want you to hate me, right? And if I'm playing the face, I want people to love me. But at the end of the day, everybody that's gonna be leaving is gonna understand. They're like, man, like this guy wants to earn our respect, so he's gonna do whatever it has to do to get that. So it's cool for you too, though, man. Like I appreciate that. You're like, yo, I just want one new set of eyeballs on me every place I go.
That's the idea. That's the idea.
So the question really needs to start, man, because you said we're gonna jump right into the middle of your career, but we gotta talk about how did you get into the sport?
Let's go back. Okay. I am just the beginning of me figuring out what wrestling really even is. I'm 10 years old. I'm sitting in the after school program. My parents both had multiple jobs. And one of the kids in my after school program has a PSP and he's playing SmackDown versus Raw 2007. And all I see is an animation, a gameplay video of Shawn Michaels hitting the super kick, sweet chin music. And I'm like, yo, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. There is nothing cooler than just stomping a bunch of times and kicking a dude right in the face. I asked him, what am I looking at right now? I'm 10 years old. And he says, oh, it's WWE. It's SmackDown vs. Raw. It's a video game. You should watch Raw tonight. It's on at 9:00 on cable on TV. And I go and I watch it, and I'm a little late to turning it on. So I jump in mid-match to Jeff Hardy doing a suicide dive on Umaga. Perfect way to start me watching wrestling. So I'm hooked right then and there. I say, all right, this is the thing I watch now every Monday until high school and college age, where you start watching other stuff. You start introducing yourself to other companies and other styles of wrestling. But from day one, it was like sweet chin music, dives, and then John Cena, who's the champion at the time. That's my guy. John Cena's as a 10-year-old kid, who's cooler than John Cena?
Right. I mean, I think for me, my 10-year-old person was Rey Mysterio. So like Ray's
one of the greatest. Ray's a legend.
Of course, greatest mask of all time, greatest luchador of all time. I don't care what anybody got to say. Everybody argue your point about Silver King all you want, but it's not going to affect me.
My dad was a big Mil Mascaras fan. He used to talk him up a lot. And looking back, wonderful, but he's not Rey Mysterio.
My man could work. Hey, yo, but he could work, and I give credit where credit is due. But at the end of the day,
doing it full speed to this day, like on a full-time schedule, not skipping a beat, not lowering his work rate or his style, just doing the things that brought him to the table. Still
exactly. Amazing. And I remember watching him when he debuted against Dean Malenko, and watching him in Panama City, Florida, like on an episode of Monday Nitro, and I was like, dude, I don't know who this is, but that's the guy. That's the guy I'm gonna mess with.
I remember my first time I saw Rey Mysterio. So when I first started wrestling, he was injured, and there was also that it was before they brought the rosters back together in like 09 or 08 or whatever. So he was hurt. So the first pay-per-view that we ever ordered was a SummerSlam of that year, and he was like painted up like the Silver Surfer, all full silver, coming out to wrestle. I think it was Booker on that show. It was either Booker or Chavo, I can't remember, but seeing him in the full silver was like super cool. And then doing superhero gear so many times after that. Rey Mysterio is a cool guy. I don't know why we're talking about Rey Mysterio right now, but I was a big.
This is the Rey Mysterio love section right now. That's all it is. You know, it's wild too to think about, because like that silver paint, like he got a lot of heat for it, because like a lot of people.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, because he got stuck in the ring and it got on with the people. Yeah.
Yeah. People kind of upset.
I don't care. It was cool.
I've heard a story about someone who said, "Why did you let him go out in that gear?" And so that it was what it was.
I know.
But yo, so like full transparency, man, we gotta hop back over. You're representing a very proud heritage of people, right? And I'm talking about in like the Latin community. So what's it like being being a representative of the Latino community, like wrestling wise?
So what's really cool that I didn't learn till I was actually wrestling was that my great grandmother back in Puerto Rico used to watch Carlos Colon's promotion back in the
Yeah,
day on TV, and we get so invested, booing every rudo and cheering every technical. Like it didn't matter who the character was. If you're a good guy, you're getting cheered. If you're a bad guy, you're getting booed. No matter what, she was so invested. And I didn't learn that until I got older. But then I realized, like, man, wrestling is so huge in Latino culture and Puerto Rican culture. And I got, I again got a little bit older, and I realized that Jack Veneno, who's Dominican, was a world champion. And there are so many deep roots that for me, being not only Boricua but being from New York, which is also and from the Bronx, a huge Latin American Latino community, huge Puerto Rican community, and also if you add in the socioeconomic relationship that Latinos have to wrestling. It's a lot of poor kids like me, and then people that I came from, people that we know that like gravitate to this thing for some reason. So when I see people like Santana and Ortiz, and I think of Eddie Kingston, these are the people that like they really represent this. I'm trying to get in, and I'm trying to follow in their footsteps and make sure that our culture and our people are represented to the best of my ability. But ultimately, I can't speak on like being somebody that people look up to, because I'm still the person that looks up to them.
right.
I will take some pride in the Arizona can that I bring to the ring just over my shoulder, or the the Yankee fitted that I wear, the hip hop music that I walk down to, who is that music that is created by Sos V, who's a Puerto Rican and Dominican rapper from here in the Bronx. Like I try to bring my people and I try to bring my culture to my presentation to the best of my ability. And ultimately that's very important to me.
Yeah, it's wild for me because like being in the Latino community as well, right, and being a part of the Latin movement is like I like to think about it all the time, right? Is that like in the wrestling aspect, but for Panamanians, the Panameñas, like, hey, there's like not that many of us, so like we
Yeah,
have to hold
yeah.
down heavy. Say again?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't really guess it.
yeah, we gotta hold it down, man. Because I think even one day I went on Wikipedia just to go see like how many wrestlers are from Panama, right? Pro wrestlers, two,
Mm.
two
Damn.
recognized on Wikipedia. I was like, yo, we are not doing well in this
Oh,
department. We have to turn it up.
you gotta get some more people. Where's your people at?
Right, that's what I wanted the whole time. But you know what's crazy though is I was on Twitter and I saw like the what do they call it when they joined everybody together? Spaces. So I saw
Yeah.
on Twitter Spaces there was somebody who was hosting and she was Panamania, and I was like, hey, shout out. It's like, okay, I'm gonna see one day. I'm gonna
That's
holler at her.
one of the
And just
beautiful
like,
things
hey,
about Twitter is being able to link up with people. And like
right,
I've met so many cool, Puerto Ricans and New Yorkers just through wrestling that I wouldn't have met before, whether they're in Florida, whether they're in California and have relocated, but they're from where I'm from and are the people that not only that I'm trying to be like, but that I'm trying to walk with and bring my people.
right. No,
Yeah.
I 100%, man. I have it tattooed on my arm. So like the thing is like when I come out to the ring and stuff, people see like the gear looks like Deadpool, but when they look at the arm, they see that there's something written there, and it's awesome because a lot of people can't read it. And they're like, I don't know what that says. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's a Panameño, and they're
Yeah.
like, what does that mean? I'm like, yo, I'm Panamanian.
Yeah.
My mom's from Panama, and I'm very proud of it. So I'm very proud to have it tattooed on me. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool, but you don't sound Spanish. Or like, first of all, we're not speaking in Spanish, and that
Right.
won't be a thing because half you won't understand. But
Not to mention the idea that we all sound the same, or that all Hispanic people sound the same when they're speaking English with an accent, whatever it may be. Something that I do struggle with though is that the idea that Hispanic people, especially in wrestling, really minorities in wrestling, can be stereotyped really easily. Like the last thing I want to do is carry a Puerto Rican flag to the ring, not because I'm not proud of my Puerto Rican privilege or my Puerto Rican heritage, but because if I bring this thing to the ring, are people going to have a preconceived notion of who I am or what I'm about because other people have been tagged with the same presentation?
yeah, it
So
seems
that's
like
something I keep in mind as well.
I was gonna say it seems like whenever you tell people that you're Latin or that you're a part of the Latino community, that there's always like they're pretty much like you're either gonna be like the thug type character or you're a luchador,
Right.
right? Or you're like you're like very high end. You're like an Andrade or Estrada, right? Like
Right.
you're one of those guys.
If you identify as a Latino wrestler, that there's potentially this idea that you can only fit into three different types of characters without
Right.
the nuance that I think is hugely important, especially in wrestling when you're trying to present yourself in a certain way.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, I think about it to myself. I'm like, yo, I want to present my character first. That way people will be like, oh, well, he's a good wrestler who is also Latin, not he's a Latin wrestler, right? And I just like,
Mhm.
I want people to see that. Like, I can work and I can work at what I want to work, my work rate. So
Right.
I definitely feel like where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I am not a luchador.
mm,
I do dives. I have my own certain style, but if you ask me to have a lucha match, I would certainly be more carried than the ring general in that ring. Just because I'm Latino doesn't mean that I have that
right.
style.
Man, I tell people everybody whenever it's like, oh, so can you do flips? I'm like, I can, but I choose not to. I was like, because my style is called Red Dog Fu.
I
We
love
fight
it.
that way.
Red Dog Fu.
So let's hop into this, man. I got to know, like, what's the worst bump you've taken?
Worst bump I've taken. That's a good question. You know what? I got it. So I have this match. I have this match against a dude named Dick Danger, and Dick Danger is like your evil Knievel type. Um, he has like American flag tights, and he wears like a motorcycle helmet. He's a stuntman. That's his thing. And we have this match on a weekly show in ACW down in Florida, which is one of WWN's properties. Evolve, FIP, the whole thing. And I'm on the weekly shows almost every week with them, and myself and my faction. Shout out to Rapture. Uh, we are a weekly presence on this show. I have a singles match. Make a long story short, I'm gonna do a Dope con Hilo over the top, Finn Balor style flipping dive. The spot was that I'm gonna dive onto Dick Danger, who's being held by my guys. And in the end, Dick Danger runs away, and I take out my guys. Problem with that is I make eye contact. I turn around. I start heading towards the ropes. I do my dive, and nobody's there to catch me.
No, no.
And I just take the hardest landing on my butt, on my tailbone, that honestly I should have broken my tailbone. Something worse than a bone bruise should have happened, but luckily enough, all I got was the bone bruise. But that was in the moment, probably not just because it was painful, because it was embarrassing, the worst bump I've ever taken.
I know someone else who's attached to this podcast who made eye contact with somebody and dove to the ropes, and that guy was not there to catch him.
It's, it's not ballet, is what I'll say.
No, it's not. But all right, so going over from like a worst bump, man, let's talk about like what's like one of the hardest hits like you have taken.
There's a guy who he's not as active as he used to be. I'm not sure if he's wrestling right now, but before the pandemic, maybe November of 2020 or October of 2020, or sorry, of 19, so before the pandemic. This dude named Zach Cooper. If you want to imagine what he looks like, picture Walter minus about 2 inches and 20 pounds, but that very same body type and that very same style. And the finish of this match, after ducking it throughout, right? That we built the story around him trying to chop me and me ducking it, avoiding it, sliding it, whatever it may be. And he plants this 10 and a half, 11 across inch hand right across my chest. And it was like my soul escaped my body. And I don't bump, I just collapse. And there are tiny little scars on my chest to this day because of it, that if you look from afar or from a few feet away, you can't see it, but I know they're there.
Yeah, I could imagine that, especially if someone's known just for chopping. Yeah, Getting chopped probably
I've
not
never
the anymore.
I've never been a fan of the chops. I don't mind watching other people get chopped. I don't personally chop because if I give it out, I'm gonna get it back. And if I can avoid that, I'm gonna avoid it. That's the
Yeah.
truth.
It is something to be said because like I think about that too because like I'm not one to chop. Like I know a lot of other people who will, but I'm not one of them.
It's not
And
for everybody.
no, but if you fuck up, I may have to, and then everybody knows that you fucked up.
Yeah, that's fair. If you got to take control or slow something down, it belongs. I agree.
Yeah, full transparency when I say this. Like I was working a practice match with one of the students, and I shouldn't even say it like that. He was a one of the others. I was a student as well, so we were working this match, and we were talking about a 360 spot, and we went over it over and over again, and he knew what we were doing, right? So we get in, we hit the first buckle, and he was just like, "All right." So I'll do like a choke, right? Right.
Mhm.
Take him off. Move next spot. Do another kind of move, right? We get all the way, and by the third post, he goes, "Is this the part where I hit you with a Rana?" And I was like,
Oh, no.
"Throw him into the last post and just good brothered him."
Oh, you came down with the. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's
And I was like,
violent.
I leaned in, and I go, "Don't call your own spots after we've called the match." And he just took him to the next buckle because I was like,
That's
and
brutal.
everybody knew because like the fact that I threw it, like I don't throw it. So the fact that I did, they're like, yeah.
Right. People knew is because they knew you. They knew
My
something
trainer
was up
was like,
there.
my
Mhm.
trainer leaned back. He goes, "Yep, that was a fuck up."
You can tell. You can tell when
Yeah.
you got to do something like that. When you got to slow everything down and just double chop somebody. That's rough. I have a tendency to talk a lot. So in that situation, I probably would have said the same thing if I were you, because I think I try to talk for both of us if I can tell that somebody else isn't talking.
Right.
Often because I've just dealt with a lot of people forgetting spots, and also when I was green, I remember forgetting a lot of spots. So it's if I can just cover both of our asses by calling these spots, I'm gonna do it. And if I don't have to get chopped and you don't have to get chopped, and neither of us get hurt because I talked, then I did my job.
It was funny though, because like I remember like he was like because he would say exactly what was gonna happen. Because I told him I was like, "Hey man, like choke, there's gonna be a hit here, there's gonna be a hit here."
Yeah, you were talking him through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was carrying it. And then just like he was just throwing it out there. Yo, this is I'm gonna do a Rana.
Yeah, no, that
No,
ain't it.
we're not in. Bet man, so I'm curious though, because I love asking this question to everybody who comes on this show. So whether it's a pre-ritual or not, or even after a match or after a show, like what's your post-match meal?
Post-match meal, you know what? And you can probably get this too. What's open after a show? How many places are open after a show? The IHOPs or Denny's if you get out kind of early, or the Applebee's is or whatever, those places. Wawa is usually open. If I luck out, if I luck out, um, and a lot of things are open, by the time I get out, I'll try to get sat down somewhere and eat a chicken parm. Some chicken parm with some pasta. That's gonna hook me up. But if I'm leaving my show and it's midnight and I'm somewhere in the south of the Mid Atlantic, I'm going steak and shake. I'm going steak and
Hey,
shake for a double garlic burger with some Parmesan fries, and I don't know if you've eaten dirty like that, but I do it far too frequently, and I really should start cleaning it up because I'm 25. I look good, but that's not gonna last forever. But for now, that's I that's my go-to. Something dirty, something greasy.
yo, I feel you 100%, man. Because like when I leave out of a show, like it's usually like a Sheets or like a Wawa's, and I
Hmm.
stop in and I'm like, yo, just give me that chicken sandwich right there.
Yeah, a
That's what
little
I
Wawa
want.
sandwich or some grilled chicken or some sauce or whatever, like that quick that gets you back on the road. Because that's another thing. When you get out late, you don't want to
No,
sit and eat and chill and talk as much as you want to get back home or get to whatever next town you're going to, because it's a grind. The travel is a grind too. I think I always say to people when I get paid and when we talk about the pay, when it comes to wrestling. It's like you don't get paid to wrestle. Wrestling's the fun part. You get paid to travel. You get paid to go and travel or train. That's the hard part. That's the work of it.
Yep. It's funny though, because like I knew, like, I just recently, I was getting home like this last weekend, and I'm not gonna tell you what week that we're recording this on. Just know that, this last weekend, I had gotten home at 3 o'clock in the morning, back to back nights,
Yep.
and one drive was. It was it was like an hour and a half, but I had to help tear down the ring and then go put it
Mhm.
away and then
Mhm.
set it up back in the studio, right?
Mhm.
So drive, and then the next day it was, hey, we're gonna go north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that's a 3.5 hour drive
I
there,
can't
and I
believe
do
it.
all the
That's out.
driving. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, let's go. So we drive all the way up there, we drive all the way back. And and a lot of people don't understand, like, man, when you hit those travels, like you stop at a Sheets or like Wawa's or Cumbies for those of you in Massachusetts, because I know I love that
I
spot
have
too.
no idea what a combi is. What is a combi?
I don't know how
What is
you
combi?
wrestle in Worcester, Massachusetts, and never
Because
check
well,
out
to be fair, I've
Cumbies.
only been wrestling in Worcester for a little while. After spending 2 years or so wrestling in Florida, I'm back up in the Northeast where I'm from and where I'm trying to get my footing in Massachusetts and Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, all that. So at some point I'll hit a Cumbies, but first you got to tell me what the hell it is.
Yeah, man. So like they have like the best bomb ass coffee. So if you're trying to get like a quick like iced coffee, like everybody will tell you, Dunkin's is that spot, right? Or they might even, if the rare occasion that you're in Massachusetts, someone might tell you that, hey, yo, go hit Starbucks. No. Cumberland's is always
Cumbies.
the spot, man. Yeah. So
Got you.
Cumbies is that spot. Like we
Copy. I know. So when I'm in Worcester next week, as of recording a week from today, I will definitely look it up.
Yep. And then you got to tell, like, we'll chop it up more afterwards, and I'll tell
Yeah,
you, tell this person to take you to that spot.
I will. I will. Let me know.
But yeah, man. So going on from like post match snack, post match meals, man. I'm just very curious, man. What's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn?
Oof, that's a tough question. One of the hardest things I've ever had to learn, or one of the hardest things I've learned in wrestling, I think it's the mental toughness that what this takes. So I'm an athlete. I've always been an athlete. I played football through high school and in college, and training and exercising is the easier part in comparison. And learning wrestling, albeit hard, it's not an easy thing to do, an easy thing to get good at. It pales in comparison to in my opinion at least, reaching out to bookers, spending 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 hours driving to a show to wrestle for 5 minutes to do that same thing to get back home. The negotiating with promoters, the trying to get yourself over and jogging your head for stories and creative, maintaining friends, trying not to make enemies, learning from veterans while not looking like a rookie. All of those things are the mental game. To me, that's the hardest part of this. And I was told no plenty of times coming out of high school and trying to get to college and looking for a place to play quarterback at. And I got one place to offer me a scholarship. And all of those no's and one yes taught me the lesson too, is that you're going to hear no a million times, but eventually those yeses will come. And when you get those yeses, you have to make the best of those opportunities. You have to take those opportunities and run with them, because if you don't, a lot of no's are going to follow that too before your next yes. So I think that's the hardest lesson that I continue to learn in wrestling.
Oh, I like that too, though. And it's not a lesson that you learn at once. Like you learn it over and over and over again. But every time that you do learn that lesson again, it gets kind of easier, because then you kind of see like the mental hurdles that's going to take to get to that next spot. But then what's really cool is like once you get to like a certain age, you can look back and tell somebody else like, hey man, this is what's going to happen. Here's some of the stops that you could hit, and these were things that helped me kind of work my way around to get to where I'm at. So
Mhm.
that's cool that you're able to figure that out early, because like I wasn't so lucky. Like I was gonna
Yeah,
be honest.
it's difficult. I'm not gonna lie, like it's difficult to not take no personally. But what you have to remember, and that what I'm dealing with as a wrestler who is on the way up but still on the grind, is that a lot of times it's just out of your hands. Maybe the promoter isn't looking for what you're offering, or maybe the promoter doesn't want to travel you because you may be too far or not a big enough name to travel, or whatever it may be. It might have nothing to do with your talent or your abilities. It might have everything to do with what they are looking for. And if those things are out of your hands, then those are the things that you can't harp on too much, that you can't take personally, because you can only control what you can control. You can control how good you are. You can control how you present yourself. But if they're not looking for those things specifically that you tend to put forward, that's not your fault.
Yeah, and you got to make sure like you got and you hit it right on the head, right? But you also got to make sure that like you got to understand that they're not saying no to you; they're saying no to the idea that you're throwing out there. So you keep plugging away and
Yep.
keep pushing for it. I love it. I love it, man. So let's talk about it. So if an upcoming wrestler is coming up to you and asking for your advice, man, like what kind of advice are you giving that person?
Oh, first of all, find a good school. I think that I've been able to train at a lot of different places, but where I started was at Creative Pro with Kurt Hawkins and Pat Buck, Brian Myers, and Pat Buck in Long Island. And although I didn't stay there for the duration of my wrestling training, it laid the groundwork on what good training looks like and what it feels like and how to learn at the right pace. Um, so do your research before just going to a spot and pick a good one. Secondly, is you are the company you keep. My dad taught me this when I was a kid in the Bronx, and even when we moved around to different places too. It's like, you want to stay out of trouble? Don't hang out with people who are trouble. And as I got older, it was, you want to be a starter on this team? You want to be a valuable player on this football team? Don't hang out with the kids who don't work hard or who don't take it seriously. When you get into wrestling, if you get with other people that push you and that push themselves, you have no choice but to get better or disappear. And that's what I'm so thankful for in finding the guys in the Rapture. Jay Sky, Richard King, these are two of my best friends in the world, not just because we get along so well and care so much about each other, but because these are two guys who push me and push each other, and that I'm able to push as well. That when we first started as the three of us, well, there were four people in the faction at the time, but the three of us were getting on the road together more than anybody else. And right off the bat, it's all right. These people have their head right. These people have ambitions, have goals, and have strategies and ways of getting to those places and attaining those goals. These are guys that just did AEW Dark and wrestled against the Dark Order a few weeks ago. And in July, this past July, with the three of us, were able to go to AEW to Dark together for the first time and pursue these things that from day one we knew we would figure out how to do. So to wrap that up, you are the company you keep. Make sure that you are with people that want what you want, and then find a good school that's going to help you find those good people.
Love it, man. I love it. So you traveled around, you've been to a lot of different locker rooms, you've been to a lot of different places, man. So I need to really know. I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
Locker room do's and don'ts. Locker room do's and don'ts. Locker room do. Introduce yourself to everybody. Learn everybody's name. Something that I do specifically is that when I learn somebody's name, I'll say it back to them maybe 2-3 times just to make sure I got it. Because when you speak to somebody with their name, they learn yours. That's, I don't know if it's human psychology or just common courtesy or whatever it may be, but something that I learned was, if you're going to make an impression on people, you got to let them know that you care about them too. So that's a locker room do. That's a huge do for me. Meet people and remember who they are. A locker room don't be messy. That's a real easy one. Keep your stuff all in one place and don't get in other people's way. Don't when you change clothes, don't just throw stuff about. Keep maintain a decent little space for yourself, especially in wrestling locker rooms that are small. Everybody is already on top of each other. You want to make it worse? No, then you're a jerk. You're just a jerk. So maintain your little area and be good to people in the locker room when you meet them and when they meet you. Do's and don'ts.
I love it. So it's funny because like I try to remember everybody's names, but usually I'll end up like messing stuff up. But
It's tough. You make mistakes. You get names wrong, but the attempt, the effort, got to be there.
yeah, but in the other part too, like if you can't remember that person's name, and this will be just me kind of putting it out there. If you can't remember that person's name, at least remember one thing about them, because that's the other part. Because then you can be, when you come back, you're like, oh hey, and you can apologize. Totally forgot your name, but I remember we talked about blah 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 blah, right? So
yeah,
it's always
100%.
fun.
And here's a little tip, a trick: if you do forget somebody's name, but you know you've met them before, have someone else near you talk to them, and they'll tell you their name. And maybe you don't come off rude, and it does show that you want to know their name, or like you said, just apologize for forgetting their name and relearn it and try harder. But as long as you make the effort, that's the important part, I think.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too. But those are all like my heavy hitting questions. So we got to talk about the second best segment on this podcast. And you're probably wondering what's the first. It's the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find every Sunday on our debate show. But this is the 3 Count Podcast, 10 Count Questions. Mr. Diaz, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever's your answer, that's your answer.
Let's do it. Let's talk. Let's go fast.
Bet. So I'm going to put on the imaginary timer for ad pressure. Bing. And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
The Departed.
Yes. Good choice.
Great
PlayStation.
movie. Scorsese's my guy.
A PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Favorite color?
Orange.
Mario or Sonic?
Sonic.
Favorite submission?
You know what? I do a thing. I stole it from TJP. It's a sharpshooter, but you trap the hands also. And I just think it's you do a little chop. You grab their hands, then you tie the oh my god, the sharpshooter. Then you turn them over. You got all limbs. They can't tap. They got to just quit, and it's great.
Yep. I've seen that. And I've actually been practicing on that as well. I think that's really cool.
I won a match like that one time, and I said, "All right, I did it. I don't need to do it ever again. I don't need to win like that ever again. I won."
All right. So, Bamba or reggaeton?
Reggaeton.
A favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast? I listened to a podcast called the Weekly Planet Podcast. I was listening to it right before this, which is 2 Australian dudes talking pop culture, movies, comic books, TV shows, video games, all that stuff. They're very funny. So.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Can I nominate 2 people? Can I nominate Jay Sky and Richard King together? They can do interviews together. They can do them separately. They are 2 best friends within our 3 best friends. So I want to talk to them, and I want to watch them talk to you.
All right, bet. Yeah, definitely. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person that comes on the show. Favorite curse word?
Fuck. It's a regular in my verbiage. I try to let it not be in scenarios like this, but you asked for it.
Yeah, no doubt. No. Fully transparent. The F word is like the greatest word of like all time. I don't care what anybody says.
Because it fits in so many different places.
Do I tell everybody? And I keep trying to get this video re-viral, right? I don't know if that's a word, but try and bring it back. If you get a chance, go check out the history of the F word. It's on YouTube. All right, it's the best 2 minutes and 39 seconds that you'll ever experience.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like I've seen it. Is it? Does it have to do with German vernacular and like the caste system? Yeah, I've seen that. I watched a lot of video essays and like random historical things.
But it starts off with like the old English music.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. I'm so down with it. Bet. Well, those are all the questions I have. So the last thing I just got to ask, man, is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
You can find Jarett Diaz on Instagram at the Jarett Diaz Show, on Twitter at the Jarett Diaz. You can see me. I don't know when this is coming up. I don't know when this is going to be airing, but February 11th, which is tomorrow as of recording, at Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Bridgeport, Connecticut. You can find me on Wrestling Open next week on IWTV and live in Worcester at the White Eagle. On February 26th, I will be on Pro Wrestling Magic in New Jersey. I don't remember the city, but that's okay. It's also on IWTV. And on March 12th, this is a big one. That's my birthday in Queens, New York, at the Great Elks Lodge in Flushing. That's on March 12th. That's some of the stuff I have coming up in the near future. And look me up on YouTube if you want to watch my stuff. And if you hate my face, don't look me up. I don't care.
Well, bet. He's gave you his handles. He told you where you can find him on YouTube, so you know what to do. Go look it up. And like we always do, when you get to the end of a match, you take it home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring, and I am your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, that man that leads you up the mountain called wrestling. You should call me a Sherpa, and by the end of this, you better be calling me a Sherpa. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about who's entering the ring, because, every good Sherpa's got to have a Sherpa who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than I can. And so that's why we brought in Jarett Diaz. He is here in the ring with us. And you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you just wait for this episode to end. You wait for that outro, and then you choose another episode to listen to. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there. Find us at the 3count_pod. Give us a follow. Give us a like. Give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3countpod. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com. Give subscribe. Turn the bell on. Turn the notifications. Leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So, show us some support, please.